To begin with, I just want to say that counseling and how it's been viewed in my family and in my environment is one that, at first, for starters, I would say is one that's, in a negative light, and one that is people are criticized when it comes to mental health counseling, um, and using the services provided by mental health facilities. It's one that provides a very negative stigma. I can honestly go relate to this because I, for one, who was raised in foster homes growing up, and thankfully for me being, adopted by close relatives, even still, I was, as because I had been through the system and because I was a part of, a broken family or home, so to speak, it was just the thing to do for children, and not just children, but even adults to go and seek mental health counseling. And so this was one of the things that I had no choice as far as taking part in. So it became for my family, and quite specifically my siblings and I who were adopted, it became something that we just had to do. If we didn't really, it was just one of those things. We didn't really think of it as, oh, it's a bad thing when you're a child, but the more you get out into the community and the more you get, and you're going to school and you go into the guidance office, or you have your social worker come, or you're going to have to see with a psychiatrist to talk about, just whatever is on your mind, and they're trying to assess what's going on with you, it can be seen as something that's very negative. And in my experiences, there has been some negative associations with it, in regards to myself and some other people that I know, as far as like when you're in the system, or because you've been in foster care, because you've been adopted, that you must or have some kind of mental health problem, or that you're not quite fit, or normal as far as society is concerned. So I guess for me, that was the association that my family, my peers, all led, showed me towards me. And as I got older, my views about it, I mean, obviously I'm going to be a counselor now, has changed. And I want to be that person who helps to change that view, that negative stigma that's a part of that. Um, just to move on from that, to answer the next question, when I think about how counseling can impact me, in my career as a counselor, I feel like it's one of those things where it's going to determine which methods, and theories I use to help my students or clients. It's definitely going to be a determinant of uh, how I proceed with, my the way I communicate with my clients as well as people in the profession. And it's going to definitely be a predeterminer for, how successful I feel that I am as far as meeting the needs and helping the client. So that's how I feel like it is going to relate to me in regards to, counseling. Now, the other thing that I would like to address is how the media portrays counseling. And I have a couple of things I want to say about this. One is that, there are a couple of ways that the media portrays it. And first and foremost is not the most positive, but people portray mental health and counseling, and just counseling in general, as something that to be, how can I say this, a quick fix. And it's supposed to be a quick fix, and they sometimes depict it as if it's ineffective or make a mockery out of it, when in fact it has helped a lot of people. And not only is it helping a lot of people, but they also, I mean, it can be a determinant of whether someone, has come to a head as to what they want to do with, or the decisions that they made. So sometimes it's taken very, or viewed as being very lackadaisious, if I could say that. I might be pronouncing the word wrong, but it's something that's viewed very lightly in some cases. You see it, made fun of in many cases. Like, for instance, the scene where someone is laying on the couch and they're talking and they're sharing or pouring out their whole life story while somebody writes on a notepad. And now, if I didn't know any better, I would believe that that's the way it happens and that's the way it is for everyone. But because, like I said earlier, I've experienced going to counseling and seeing mental health counselors and seeing school counselors. And so I know that that's not how it goes. And even now, on the other side of it, I realize that that's not always the case, and there are different methods and processes to mental health counseling. But the media has predicted it or depicted it in a way that can be, like I said, they try to diffuse or make little of counseling. And those who seek counseling, they make them to seem as if they're, whatever the case may be, um, unordinary or, for lack of a better word, but they're not fit to be in society, or that something is extremely wrong with them. And they make it seem like counseling or someone who seeks counseling is a very weak thing to do, but indeed it actually says a lot about a person who can admit that they actually need help and they can't do it by themselves. It shows a great strength, but in the media you don't see it as such. It also makes it seem ineffective. So you see a lot of times in the media where people go to counseling, the counselor is someone who doesn't have a clue what's going on. They comment only on what they feel is important, not listen to the actual client. So they view it as being ineffective, and people again are, ridiculing and making fun of them when you have to go. And on the other side of that, unfortunately, it seems like every view I have that I've seen in the media is negative. But I will say that on the other side, not just the counselor, I feel like in reality, in the media, some people can view it as an excuse to do certain things. Oh, well, I'm in counseling, or oh, I seek mental health counseling, or oh, I do this, I do that, as an excuse to, proceed with things that are not accepted in society. So that's my bit on the media, so I'm going to step back from that. And as far as what cultures I feel like I'm a part of, I honestly have to say that I find myself revisiting exactly how is culture defined, and no matter how many classes I take, and I'm sure as I go in my profession, I'll always need to make sure I'm abreast of that, because that's probably constantly changing in many of our lives as we get older, or we're, progressing in our profession. We find ourselves doing certain things or being a part of certain groups that we weren't before, and hopefully they're for better. But if I could speak about a couple of cultures, I feel like, being in a college environment and being an educated individual, that's a part of a culture for me. And that sets me apart, and those of us who are still, seeking education and a culture in and of itself, because we seem to have a expectation um, that we don't have for those who are not as educated, or who don't seek out further education past high school or past college in undergrad. I would also think that I'm a part of a culture whom, I take my religious beliefs very seriously, and that, again, like I said earlier, can impact my career as a counselor. And again, like I said, I'd have to become more um, clearly acclimated, or I'd clearly have to define what culture means to me and how it's defined in the public side, because that would determine what cultures I'm a part of. And off top, you think, well, okay, culture, but you don't want to get it confused or mixed up with anything else. So that is my thought for this discussion board. Thank you for your patience, and I look forward to hearing your replies.